Hey guys, welcome back to another video. My name's Max and today we're going to be sculpting some fantasy creatures and painting them, and I'm going to be giving you some tips on how to sculpt with this kind of clay, and I'm also going to be telling you a bit of the lore behind the creatures and the story that they're from, so I hope you find the video useful. If you have any further questions about something I don't cover, then let me know in the comments. So the clay I'll be using today is the brand called Das, and you can get that on Amazon or from the works, and it's an air drying clay and I like it because it's kind of just easy to use and you don't have to do anything special to it to make it dry. Whenever I'm making things with eyes, a technique I like to use is make a little ball and then like a flat shape like that, which I lay over it and then blend into the rest of the face, and it looks a bit like eyelids. And what I'm doing there is just gouging out a mouth with the end of my paintbrush. I don't have any special tools, but I have got horrendously long fingernails that some people aren't particularly fond of, but they are basically just like, I'm always equipped with clay tools because I just use my fingernails, as you can see I'm doing there. Another technique I like to use is to use my brush, like the normal end of my brush, and I just use that to smooth down bits that I can't reach with my fingers because they're either too big or if the bumps are quite little, and you can use that to just smooth down the entire surface as well once you've finished sculpting to make sure it's nice and smooth. When attaching larger lumps to your clay, I would advise using cross-hatching with these really deep gouges that I just use my nails for, on both ends of where you're trying to join it together, and that way it kind of helps it bond to each other a little bit more and it's less likely to fall off. And then I just use my nails to smooth over all of the bits around the edges like that. I only gave myself a day to make this video, so obviously this model wasn't dry yet, so I used this one instead for the painting section of the video, and I did this a little while ago and I really was happy with this sculpture. And I'm happy with how it turned out for the first part, but then you'll see where things start to go a little bit wrong, so take this part of the tutorial as things you probably shouldn't do. However, right, this first bit, it worked well. With his eyes, I liked to do this, I do this with all my eyeball things. I get like a sort of very pale brown for the whites, and then I use a very pale red to do the kind of bloodshot bits around the edge. And then I did like a gradient of green and yellow for the iris, and then just black for the pupil, as eyes are. I gave it an outline with the dark green, and then used a slightly lighter green to do the little details in the middle of the iris, and then I used a little bit of red to do the kind of capillaries that you can see on the whites of the eyes. I also added little white highlights with some white. So these creatures that I'm making today are called Briebles, and they are from my little sort of side novel that I've been writing, which is like a children's book, and I talked a little bit about it last week in my sketchbook session video, and I said that I would be posting like an audiobook of it, and I started making that, and then I realised it was a lot of work, and also I kind of had stopped writing it, like I'd lost the momentum with the project in general, and so I didn't finish it. So I've written the first chapter, I've illustrated the first chapter, but I've not made it into a video format. So if you like this creature and you wanna, I mean, this creature isn't a character in it, it's like a part of the lore, but if you want to hear about that novel, if you were there last week and you thought it was interesting, then please let me know in the comments, otherwise it just won't happen. I need to know that I'm gonna get like reciprocation from my efforts. This is the point where I was happiest with this creation. I liked the nice brown colour that I'd got for the fur, and then I started adding these highlights, and it was still kind of alright. It wasn't blending particularly nicely because obviously the paint dries, but I didn't really mind because I was going to add like a fur texture over it, which sounds good in practice, but in reality it was not. I tried to use a brush to do it, and it started off alright, but then the more I did it, the more I realised the brush was just way too thick, and it just looked like someone had smeared a suspicious brown substance on him, and you can just see now it's just getting worse, and it just looks kind of bad. And the paint was kind of watery as well, and I tried different thicknesses and all kinds of things, and it just wasn't working. He just looked like I'd rushed it in 15 minutes as opposed to 3 hours. I tried to add tonal variation to the colour of the fur, but it just still wasn't working, and then I decided that it was just kind of time to give up, so I kind of blended all of it out, and it just became this horrible shade of brown that was nothing like how I liked the original colour. So I don't know why I did that. I should have just taken it off instead of blending it out. But then I did what I always do when my paintings don't work, and I just got out a coloured pencil and I started like just drawing the fur on, and this made it even worse. It just looked like, it literally just looked like the fur had been drawn on, which is what had happened, and I just wasn't very happy with it at all. However, I felt like I'd already invested way too much time in this project to like give up and start again or paint over it, so I just kind of pushed through, And what I did there is I added a thick coat of Mod Podge over the eyeballs. I also used that to attach this fur to the ears, and the fur was actually kind of the saving grace. If it wasn't for the fur, I know it looks kind of crap as it is now, but I added it somewhere else as well, and it looked a lot better. So I just did the pencil thing on the back again, but then I added the fur around the base with the glue, and I like adding glue to the eyes because it gives them like a realistic kind of shiny, gloopy texture that like eyes in real life have. On the back, I tried to add different colours of brown to try and make it a little bit more varied, and that worked a little bit. I probably should have done that on the face as well, but you know, it is what it is. And this is me adding the kind of scarf of fur around the, I don't know, the neck, I guess. And here are my final creations. I hope you liked the video and found it useful, even though it was a little bit like quick and funky. And I hope that you do some sculpting of your own and join us next time on this adventure of crafting. Bye.